The first time Natalie Brooks asked me to break a rule for her, she was barefoot in the passenger seat of my truck, holding her silver heels like weapons and staring straight through the rain on my windshield. "Drive past my street," she said softly. "Just once." I should have asked why. A normal man would have asked why. But I was 30 years old, newly good at pretending I didn't miss things, and Natalie was my ex-girlfriend's best friend. The one woman in town I had spent 2 years training myself not to look at for too long. So I kept both hands on the wheel and said, "That sounds like the beginning of a country song." She glanced at me, and despite the mascara smudged under one eye, despite the tremble in her voice, she smiled. "A bad one?" "The kind my dad would play while fixing a lawnmower he swore wasn't broken." That got a real laugh out of her. Small, surprised, and gone too fast. "My name is Caleb Price. I'm 30. I work as a claims adjuster for an insurance company in Grand Rapids, and most days my life is about measuring damage other people survived. Hail dents, basement floods, fender benders, roof leaks after April storms. I'm good at staying calm around wreckage. Romantic wreckage, less so. 2 years earlier, my relationship with Brianna Cole had ended in a quiet, humiliating way. No screaming, no thrown plates. Just one dinner where she looked at me across a plate of untouched pasta and said, "You're a good man, Caleb. I just don't think you're my man." There are sentences that sound gentle until they live in your chest. After that, I learned to be polite. Polite at grocery stores. Polite at mutual friends' weddings. Polite when Brianna started dating a guy named Logan who wore expensive watches and said networking like it was a moral virtue. And especially polite to Natalie. Natalie had been Brianna's best friend since college. She was a graphic designer, 29, sharp as a paper cut when she wanted to be, and the kind of woman who could make a room warmer without trying. Dark curls, quick hands, eyes that noticed too much. The first time I met her, she corrected my Scrabble word, stole one of my fries, and told Brianna, "He's cute, but he looks like he alphabetizes his socks." I did not alphabetize my socks. I sorted them by color, like a civilized person. For 2 years, Natalie and I stayed in the safe lane. Friendly, funny, nothing that could be used against either of us at brunch. She sent me a meme once when my favorite baseball team blew a 9-run lead. I liked one photo of her dog wearing a Halloween lobster costume. That was the entire scandal. Until Brianna's engagement party. That was where the night started going sideways. The party was at a renovated warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and tiny appetizers that tasted like expensive air. I almost didn't go, but Brianna had texted me personally. It would mean a lot if there were no weird feelings. That was Brianna's gift. She could ask you to attend your own emotional funeral and make it sound like a maturity exercise. So I went. I wore a navy blazer. I brought a bottle of bourbon for Logan. I shook hands. I smiled. I let people admire how well adjusted I seemed. Then I saw Natalie near the bar. She wore a green dress that made me forget every sensible thing I had planned to think. Not flashy, not desperate, just soft around the shoulders, fitted at the waist, and somehow unfair under those amber lights. Her curls were pinned up badly like she had fought them and lost on purpose. She caught me looking. I looked away too late. She came over with 2 glasses of champagne and handed me one. "For courage," she said. "I thought that was what the bourbon was for." "That's for Logan. This is for surviving Logan." I laughed before I could stop myself. She leaned closer, just enough that I caught the scent of rain and vanilla on her skin. "You doing okay?" There it was. Not the polite version, not the party version, the real question. "I'm great," I said. Terrible lie. "I've been practicing." "Practice less." I looked at her then, really looked, and something in my chest shifted in a way I did not appreciate. Natalie wasn't pitying me. She wasn't studying me like I was Brianna's leftover problem. She was standing there like she had chosen my corner of the room because it was where she wanted to be. That was dangerous. So I said, "You look nice." Her eyebrow lifted. "Nice?" "Very nice." "That sounded painful for you." "I'm trying not to get murdered by the friendship code." Natalie's smile faded just a little. Not enough for anyone else to notice, enough for me. "The code," she said. "Your best friend is wearing an engagement ring 10 feet away. And you're wearing guilt like a rented tux." Before I could answer, Brianna's laugh rang out from across the room. Natalie looked over at her and something closed behind her eyes. For the next hour, I watched Natalie play her role perfectly, toasting, hugging, adjusting Brianna's veil-like white party headband when it slipped, laughing when Logan made a joke about upgrading from the starter years. I hated that joke more than I should have. At 11, I found Natalie outside under the awning, rain falling hard beyond the curb. She was sitting on a concrete planter, shoes off, staring at her phone like it had personally disappointed her. "You escaping?" I asked. She looked up. "Thinking about it." "Need me to call you a ride?" My ride left with someone named Madison who does Pilates and says things like, "my truth." Ouch. Honestly, Madison has excellent posture. I respect the threat. I smiled. "I can drive you." She hesitated. That hesitation said more than yes would have. "Natalie," I said softer, "it's just a ride." Her eyes met mine. "No," she said. "It isn't." The rain filled the space between us. Then she stood, gathered her heels in one hand, and walked to my truck beside me without another word. Now, 10 minutes later, we were stopped at a red light 3 blocks from her apartment, and she had asked me to drive past her street. Just once. Her bare feet were tucked under her on the seat. The hem of her green dress had slipped over one knee. I kept my eyes forward like a gentleman and failed in small, private increments. "You know," I said, "most passengers just say thank you and quietly judge my music. I already judged it. That was fast. You have 3 Springsteen songs in a row. You're either soulful or emotionally constipated. Those are the only 2 options? For men over 28? Yes." I laughed, and she looked pleased with herself. Not rescued, not fragile, pleased. That mattered more than I expected. The light turned green. I drove past Maple Street. Natalie didn't look at her apartment building when we passed it. She looked at her hands. "Natalie, I know. You don't have to tell me anything. I know that too." But her voice had thinned. So I kept driving. Not far. Just around the block through wet streets shining orange under the lamps. The city looked emptied out like it was holding its breath for her. Finally, she said, "Brianna told me something tonight." I tightened my grip on the wheel. "About me?" "About me." That surprised me enough that I glanced over. Natalie's smile was gone now. What replaced it wasn't fear exactly, it was embarrassment. The adult kind. The kind that comes when someone exposes a feeling you had hidden carefully, even from yourself. She said I've always had a soft spot for damaged men. Natalie said. Then she looked right at you. I felt the words land between us. She said that in front of people? Quietly, but not quietly enough. My jaw tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Natalie turned toward me. "I'm not." The wipers dragged rain across the glass. I pulled to the curb without thinking, beside a closed bakery with striped awnings and a neon sign buzzing in the window. For a second, neither of us moved. "You're not?" I asked. She held my gaze, and there was nothing soft in it now except the part that made it dangerous. "No," she said, because the humiliating part wasn't that she said it. My heartbeat changed. Natalie leaned back against the seat, still barefoot, still holding those ridiculous silver heels, and whispered, "The humiliating part was that she was right. There are moments when the honest thing to do is also the stupidest." Natalie sat beside me in the blue glow of the dashboard, rain blurring the closed bakery beyond her window, and told me she had a soft spot for me. Not men like me. Me. I could have laughed it off. I could have driven her home. I could have done the decent, careful thing and pretended she hadn't just handed me a lit match in a room full of old feelings. Instead, I said, "How long?" Her lips parted a little. Then she looked down at her heels. "That's your follow-up question?" "I'm not proud of it." "You should have asked if I was okay." "I'm getting there." A smile flickered across her face, but it didn't last. Long enough that I hated myself for it. Something in me went very still. "Natalie." "No, don't do the concerned voice." She pointed one silver heel at me. "I cannot survive the concerned voice." "What voice would you prefer?" "Something arrogant. Maybe mildly flirtatious." You're better at that when you're pretending you aren't. I stared at her. She stared back. Then, impossibly, we both laughed. The sound loosened something in the truck, not fixed it, not made it simple, just made room for breath. I shifted in my seat to face her more fully. I never wanted to make your life complicated. You didn't. Come on. You existing near me in flannel made my life complicated, Caleb. That's not legally actionable. I looked out at the rain because looking at her was becoming a decision. You were Brianna's best friend. I know. And I was with Brianna. I know that too. So I put you in a box. A box? A safe one. Her voice softened. What kind of box? The kind where I didn't notice how you laughed with your whole face, or how you always checked if people on the edge of a conversation wanted in, or how you got quiet whenever someone mistook kindness for weakness. When I looked back, Natalie wasn't smiling. Her eyes were bright. That's a very specific box, she whispered. I built it poorly. The rain tapped the roof. My truck smelled faintly of leather, coffee, and her vanilla perfume. She was close enough that if I reached out, my fingers could have brushed the damp curl stuck near her jaw. I didn't. Not yet. Natalie set her heels on the floorboard. I need to say something, and then you can take me home and we can both decide this was champagne and poor lighting. I'm listening. I didn't want you because you were Brianna's. I didn't sit there pining like some villain in a cardigan. I never thought that. You might after tonight. No, she swallowed. I liked you because you remembered my dog's name. Because when Brianna forgot my gallery opening, you showed up with a gas station bouquet and said you were representing the household. Because you never made me feel like I had to be shinier to be worth noticing. I remembered that night. Natalie standing beside her prince in a tiny white gallery, pretending not to scan the door. Brianna had been too swamped. I'd gone because I'd felt bad. Or that was what I'd told myself. You wore red lipstick, I said. Her breath caught. I gave a helpless shrug. Apparently the box had windows. That did it. Natalie laughed, but this time she covered her face with both hands. God, I hate this, she said through her fingers. You're being charming at the worst possible time. I can stop. Don't you dare. The words landed warm. I reached over slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and touched her wrist. Just 2 fingers against her skin. She lowered her hands. The contact was small, almost nothing. But Natalie looked at where I touched her like it was a sentence she'd been waiting years to read. I'm not damaged, I said quietly. I know. Brianna leaving hurt. But I'm not a charity project. Her gaze snapped to mine. If you think I want to fix you, you have severely overestimated my patience. That made me smile. I want you, she said, and the smile disappeared from both of us, which is inconvenient, badly timed, and possibly friendship ending. But it is not pity. My thumb moved once over the inside of her wrist. Her breath shivered. There it was, the point where the road split. Behind us, safe history, clean excuses, everyone else's comfort. Ahead, Natalie looking at me like she would rather face the consequences than keep pretending. I leaned closer. She did too, not much. Just enough that the air changed. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. We both froze. It buzzed again. Natalie closed her eyes. If that is a weather alert, I'm suing the atmosphere. I glanced down. Brianna. Of course. Her name glowed on my screen like a warning label. Natalie saw it. Her face changed before she could stop it, the softness tucking itself away. You should answer, she said. I don't want to. That's not the same as shouldn't. The phone went silent. Then a text appeared. Is Nat with you? Another followed. She left upset. Please don't make this weird. I huffed a humorless laugh. Natalie's mouth twisted. There it is. I picked up the phone, typed, and showed Natalie before sending. She's safe. I'm taking her home. Natalie read it. Very noble, very boring. What would you prefer? She took the phone from my hand. Her fingers brushed mine, and that tiny contact should not have felt like theft. She added one word. Eventually. Then she sent it. I stared at her. Natalie handed the phone back, chin lifted, cheeks pink. What? I'm upset. My judgment is compromised. I should have been worried. I was. A little. Mostly I wanted to kiss her. Instead I said, "Are you hungry?" Her eyes narrowed. That is the least romantic pivot I've ever heard. I do better with pancakes. Do you? I'm emotionally available in diners. She looked at the rain-slick street, then at me. Caleb Price, are you asking me on a midnight almost date to avoid kissing me in a parked truck? Yes. Coward. Absolutely. Her smile returned, slow and real. Fine. But I'm ordering fries and you're telling me one embarrassing childhood story. Only one? I'm not easy, Price. Earn the sequel. So I drove us to Dot's Diner, the only place still open with coffee strong enough to qualify as a dare. Natalie walked in barefoot, heels dangling from her fingers, and the waitress didn't blink. We took a booth by the window, rain striped the glass. A jukebox in the corner played something old and scratchy. Natalie stole fries off my plate before her own food arrived. You know, I said, this is consistent behavior from you. I believe in traditions. You stole my fries the day we met. I was testing boundaries. And? You passed. She dipped the fry in my ketchup. You looked offended, but let me live. I'm generous. You're cautious. The word should have stung. Somehow from her, it felt like an invitation. I leaned my forearms on the table. Maybe I'm tired of being cautious. Natalie's teasing expression faded into something quieter. Under the table, her bare foot brushed my ankle. Maybe accidental. Then it happened again. Not accidental. My pulse kicked hard. Natalie, I said. She looked at me over the rim of her coffee mug. Yes? You're playing with fire. No, she said. I'm checking if you're warm. I reached under the table and found her hand. Her fingers slid between mine immediately, no hesitation, no joke. For a few minutes, we sat like that while the rain fell and our plates cooled, holding hands beneath the diner table like teenagers with adult consequences waiting outside. Then Natalie squeezed my hand once. Take me home after this, she said softly. I nodded, though something in me sank. She noticed. Of course she did. And walk me to my door, she added. Hope rose so fast it was embarrassing. Her thumb traced my knuckle. I'm not inviting you in, Caleb. I didn't ask. I know. Her smile was shy now, and it wrecked me. I just don't want the night to end with me running away. So after pancakes, fries, and one story about me crying during a third-grade magic show because the rabbit looked stressed, I drove her home. At her building, the rain had softened to mist. I walked beside her up the steps, close, but not touching. At her door, she turned. For once, Natalie seemed nervous. I meant what I said, she whispered. So did I. You didn't say much. I stepped closer. I noticed you, Natalie, even when I pretended not to. Her eyes searched mine, then she rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. My cheek. But her lips lingered, warm and deliberate, just beside the corner of mine. When she pulled back, I forgot how to be careful. Natalie. Yes? I'm going to want more than that. Her smile trembled. Good, she whispered. So am I. Then she slipped inside, leaving me in the hallway with rain on my shoulders and her vanilla scent on my skin. My phone buzzed before I reached the stairs. Brianna again. We need to talk. Tonight. I stared at Brianna's text in Natalie's hallway until the motion light clicked off and left me standing in the dark like a guilty man. We need to talk. Tonight. 2 years ago, those words would have cracked me open. I would have called before I reached my truck. I would have mistaken urgency for importance and let Brianna set the weather inside my chest. Now I looked at Natalie's closed apartment door. Behind it, I heard a soft thump, then a muffled, ow! I smiled, despite myself. My phone buzzed again. Caleb, please? I typed back with my thumb. Not tonight. 3 dots appeared immediately. I didn't wait for the reply. I slipped my phone into my pocket and knocked once on Natalie's door. Silence, then her voice, cautious. Did you forget something? Yes. The door opened 6 inches. Natalie had changed into an oversized gray sweatshirt, her curls loose around her shoulders, one knee bare where sleep shorts peeked beneath the hem. She looked less like the woman from the party and more like the truth of her. "What?" she asked. "My courage." Her lips parted. I braced one hand on the doorframe, not crossing the threshold. Brianna texted. The softness left her face in an instant. Of course she did. I told her not tonight. You did? I did. Natalie studied me like she was checking for cracks in the story. Why? Because 5 minutes ago you kissed my cheek and told me you wanted more. I'd rather think about that. Color rose in her face. That was a strategic cheek kiss. Highly effective. I was being restrained. I noticed. It was devastating. Her mouth twitched. You came back to flirt in my hallway? No. I swallowed, suddenly less smooth than I wanted to be. I came back because I didn't want you to think a text from her still gets to decide where I go. The playfulness faded. Natalie opened the door wider. For a second, I thought she might invite me in. Instead, she stepped out into the hall and pulled the door nearly closed behind her, choosing the space between public and private. Choosing careful. Choosing me anyway. I don't want to be a reaction, she said. You're not. I don't want to be the girl you kiss because your ex got engaged. You're not. I don't want to lose my best friend and find out I was just a bad night for you. That one hit deeper. I moved slowly, giving her room to step away. She didn't. You are not a bad night, I said. You're the first honest thing that's happened to me in a long time. Her breath caught, and I realized then that Natalie's bravado had limits. She could tease, steal fries, send dangerous texts from my phone. But being wanted plainly made her look almost afraid, so I told her the plainest thing I had. I want to take you out. Her eyes lifted to mine. A real date, I said. No rain, no engagement party, no hiding behind pancakes unless pancakes are your choice. They might be. Then formal pancakes. A laugh escaped her, wet at the edges. And if you say yes, I continued, it won't be because of Brianna, it'll be because I want to sit across from you when there's no crisis. Because I want to learn what you order when you're not emotionally compromised. Because I want to hold your hand where people can see it, if you'll let me. Natalie blinked fast. You rehearsed that? She whispered. No, I'm as surprised as you are. She looked down, smiling in spite of herself. Then she reached for the front of my shirt and fisted the fabric lightly, just enough to pull me one step closer. I'm going to say yes, she said. But I need you to understand something. Okay. If this happens, I'm not sneaking around like I'm doing something shameful. No. And I'm not competing with a ghost version of your old relationship. There's no competition. Her gaze sharpened. Don't be noble if you mean scared. God, she was something. I'm scared, I admitted, but I'm still here. Her fingers tightened in my shirt. The hallway seemed to shrink around us. The hum of an old fluorescent light. The faint smell of laundry soap from somewhere downstairs. Natalie close enough that I could see the tiny freckle near her lower lip. She noticed me, noticing. Caleb, she said, softer than before. Yeah? If you're going to kiss me, don't make it a committee decision. That was all the permission I needed. I cupped her face with one hand and kissed her. Not like an accident, not like an apology, like a choice. Natalie went still for half a heartbeat, then rose into me with a sound so quiet I felt it more than heard it. Her hand slid from my shirt to my shoulders. Mine found her waist, the soft bulk of her sweatshirt bunching under my fingers as I drew her closer. The kiss deepened slowly, sweet and stunned. There was no party noise, no old loyalty standing between us, no careful joke to hide behind. Just Natalie's mouth warm under mine, and the startling certainty that I had been walking past this door in my life for years. When we broke apart, she kept her forehead against my chin. Well? She whispered. I smiled against her hair. That was more than a cheek. Don't get smug. Too late. She laughed and pressed her face briefly to my chest. I wrapped my arms around her because she leaned in first, because she wanted it, because I wanted it so badly my ribs hurt. Then my phone buzzed again. Natalie stiffened. I didn't reach for it. After a second, she tilted her head back. Aren't you going to look? No. What if it's important? It probably feels important to Brianna. Natalie's eyes searched mine. I added, but I'm not leaving this moment to go manage hers. That did something to her. I saw it land. Her shoulders eased, her hand slid down my arm until her fingers found mine. Your phone is going to be a nightmare tomorrow, she said. Probably. My group chat is going to become a crime scene. I'll send flowers. To the chat? To the survivors. She smiled, then grew serious. I should talk to Brianna before this gets around. I know. I don't even know what this is yet. I lifted our joined hands. This is a date pending scheduling. A bureaucratic romance. Hot. I can create a shared calendar invite. Say that again, and I'll take back the kiss. You wouldn't. No, she admitted. But I'd make you earn the next one. The next one. 2 words and I was done for. I squeezed her hand. Tomorrow night? She hesitated. Too soon? Yes? Too late? Also yes. Her smile returned, small and bright. Tomorrow night. We stood there another minute, hands clasped, refusing to be sensible. Finally, she backed toward her door. Go home, Caleb. I'm trying. Try harder. I'm emotionally available in hallways now too, apparently. Dangerous development. She opened her door, then paused with one foot inside. Hey. Yeah? I'm glad you drove past my street. So am I. Her eyes warmed. Text me when you get home. Bossy. Responsive to training. I laughed and she closed the door with a smile still on her face. Only when I reached my truck did I check my phone. 3 missed calls from Brianna, 1 voicemail, 2 texts. The last one read, If Natalie is with you, she deserves to know what you never told her. For a moment, the old panic tried to rise. Then my phone lit with a new message. Natalie, if you are staring dramatically at your phone, stop. Drive safe. I sat there in the mist, grinning like an idiot. Me. You're very demanding for a woman who just assigned homework. Natalie, you liked it. Me? I liked you. The typing bubble appeared, vanished, appeared again. Natalie, good. Don't forget by morning. I started the truck. But Brianna's message sat below hers like a stone under clear water waiting for daylight. By morning, Brianna's message had turned into a splinter. If Natalie is with you, she deserves to know what you never told her. I read it 3 times over black coffee, then put my phone face down like that made me mature. It did not. At 8:12, Natalie texted. Natalie, morning status report. Did you forget? Me. Forget what? Natalie. Bold choice, Price. Me? I remember everything. Especially the part where you threatened to make me earn the next kiss. Natalie. That was not a threat, that was a curriculum. I smiled so hard my face felt unfamiliar. Then I typed what I should have typed first. Me. Brianna sent something after I left. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Natalie, about us? Me, about me. Apparently, something you deserve to know. This time she didn't answer for almost a minute. Natalie, do I? I stared at that question. There were a lot of easy lies available. I could say Brianna was being dramatic. I could say it didn't matter. I could keep the splinter buried and hope it worked itself out. But I had kissed Natalie in a hallway and told her she was honest. So I answered like a man trying to deserve her. Me. Yes, but I want to tell you in person. Natalie. Is it terrible? Me. I don't think so, but I hated myself for it at the time. Natalie. Caleb. Me. Tonight. Our date. I'll tell you before appetizers. Natalie. We're having appetizers? Me. Formal date. Multiple courses. Emotional disclosures. Natalie. Fine. But if your secret is that you alphabetize your socks, I already knew. Me? I do not alphabetize them. Natalie. Caleb. Me. I sort by color. Natalie. I need time to process this betrayal. I laughed, but my chest stayed tight. All day, I measured hail damage on a dented SUV and thought about Natalie's mouth. I inspected a leaking roof and thought about her hand pulling me closer by my shirt. I wrote wind-related loss on a report and thought, I am going to have to tell her I almost chose someone else's comfort over hers. Because that was the secret. Not dramatic, not criminal, just ugly. A year after Brianna and I broke up, she had called me crying from a parking lot. She'd had a fight with Natalie. She said Natalie was confused about me, that maybe she had feelings and it was making everything awkward. Brianna had asked if I felt anything back. I had lied. I'd told her no. Worse, I'd said Natalie was just lonely after a bad breakup, that she'd get over it. I'd made Natalie's feelings sound small because I was afraid of mine. At 7, I picked Natalie up wearing my best shirt and the expression of a man headed towards sentencing. She opened her door in a black wrap dress, curls down, lips berry dark, and every prepared sentence abandoned me. Her gaze swept over me. You look like you're about to confess to stealing museum art. You look like museum art. She blinked. Then her smile went soft in a way that made me want to step inside and forget dinner existed. Good recovery, she said. I held out a small paper bag. She took it, suspicious. Inside was a pair of folded socks, navy blue, tiny pancakes on them. Natalie pressed her lips together. Is this an apology or a cry for help? Both. She laughed, and some of the fear between us loosened. The restaurant was small and warm, with candles in amber jars and tables close enough that our knees brushed under the linen. Natalie ordered calamari for bravery. I ordered wine I hoped didn't sound like I was reading off the label. When the waiter left, she folded her hands and looked at me. Before appetizers, she said. I exhaled. Right. So I told her. About Brianna's call. About the question. About my lie. About saying Natalie was lonely because it was easier than admitting I had noticed her. Wanted her. Missed her when she wasn't in rooms. Natalie listened without interrupting. That was worse than anger. When I finished, the candle flickered between us. She looked down at her water glass. You made me sound pathetic. I know. To her. Yes. And to yourself. That one slid between my ribs. I nodded. Yes. Natalie's jaw worked slightly, like she was holding back the first 5 things she wanted to say. I wondered why Brianna got colder with me that year. I thought I had done something obvious. I'm sorry. I hate that you hurt me before you ever touched me. My throat tightened. I do too. She looked up then. Her eyes were shiny, but her voice stayed steady. Why tell me now? Because I don't want whatever happens between us to be built around me looking good. I leaned forward. I want you to know me, even the cowardly parts. For a moment, I thought she might leave. Instead, she reached across the table and touched the back of my hand with 2 fingers. Not forgiveness. Contact. You don't get points for honesty you owed me, she said. I know. But you do get credit for not letting her tell it first. I turned my hand over slowly. She let me catch her fingers. I should have chosen you then, I said. Her mouth trembled once. You didn't have to choose me. You just had to not dismiss me. I know. And now? Now I'm choosing you. The words came out quiet, but they felt like stepping into sunlight. Natalie held my gaze. Even if Brianna is furious? Yes. Even if people talk? Yes. Even if I steal your fries forever? I smiled. I assumed that was in the contract. She looked down at our joined hands. Her thumb brushed mine. I'm still mad. You should be. But I don't want to go home. Hope moved carefully through me. Then don't. Her eyes narrowed. That sounded smoother than intended. I meant stay for dinner. Sure you did. The calamari arrived, saving me from myself. Dinner became something strange and tender. We talked about safer things, then dangerous ones. Her first design job, my mother's suspicious devotion to holiday yard decorations, the way Natalie had once cried in a supply closet after a client called her work cute. It was good work, she said, stabbing a piece of pasta. But I hate that I needed someone else to say it. It was good work, I said. She glanced up. You haven't seen it. I saw your gallery show. That was years ago. I remember the blueprint, the one with the woman standing in the lake. Natalie went still. That was my favorite. I know. How? Because you stood near it like you were guarding it. The anger in her face softened into something almost helpless. You make it very hard to stay properly mad, she whispered. I can say something about spreadsheets. Don't ruin this. After dinner, we walked along the river because neither of us wanted the night to end. The air smelled like wet pavement and spring. At the railing, Natalie slipped her hand into mine first. I talked to Brianna today, she said. My stomach tightened. Natalie squeezed my hand. No, stay here with me. Don't go into courtroom face. I turned toward her. Okay. She was upset. She said I was humiliating her. I told her my feelings weren't a public relations issue. I almost smiled. Good. She also said you'd hurt me. I might. Natalie looked at me. That's not the romantic answer. It's the true one. I don't want to, but I'm capable of it. You already know that. She studied me for a long second. Then she stepped closer until her dress brushed my legs and her free hand rested against my chest. Then don't be careless with me, she said. I lifted my hand to her cheek. I won't. And don't disappear into guilt. I am not dating your remorse. My pulse stumbled. Dating? Her cheeks colored, but she held my gaze. I'm considering the term. I'm very supportive of the term. Of course you are. I bent my head. Can I kiss my possible date? Natalie's eyes warmed. You can kiss the woman who is still mad at you. That woman is intimidating. She likes you anyway. So I kissed her under the river lights, slowly at first, then with less restraint when she rose onto her toes and smiled against my mouth. Her arms slid around my neck. Mine wrapped around her waist. The city moved around us, cars hissing over damp streets, strangers passing behind us, and Natalie kissed me like she was choosing me in public. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. I'm not ready to tell everyone, she whispered, but I'm not hiding because I'm ashamed. Then we go at your pace. Our pace, she corrected. I smiled. Our pace. My phone buzzed in my pocket. We both heard it. Natalie looked at me, then at my pocket. If that's her, I don't want her in this kiss. I took out my phone, turned it off without checking, and put it away. Natalie's smile was small, grateful, and a little wicked. Good choice, she said. I'm learning. Earned 1 point. How many for the next kiss? She tugged me down by my collar. This one's extra credit, she whispered. The next morning, Natalie sent me a photo of the pancake socks on her feet. Natalie, I'm wearing evidence of your emotional growth. Me. They look better on you. Natalie, everything does. Me? Modest. Natalie, accurate. I was still smiling when Brianna called. For once, I answered. She didn't say hello. Are you seriously doing this? I looked across my kitchen at the sunlight on the floor, at the coffee mug Natalie had teased me for owning because it said, claims happen. Yes, I said. A pause. Then Brianna laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. Wow. I'm not trying to hurt you. No, you're just dating my best friend right after my engagement party. We're not doing this at you. That's convenient. I closed my eyes. The old version of me would have apologized until there was nothing left of my spine. But Natalie's voice from the river came back to me. Don't disappear into guilt. I'm sorry this hurts, I said. But Natalie isn't a punishment. She's a person. And I'm not going to talk about her like she's something that happened to you. Brianna went quiet. When she spoke again, her voice was colder. She'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but that will be between her and me. It wasn't a perfect speech. It didn't fix anything. But when I hung up, I didn't feel cruel. I felt free. That evening, Natalie and I met at a bookstore cafe because she said public places encouraged responsible emotional pacing. She arrived in jeans, a cream sweater, and the pancake socks visible above her boots, because apparently she had decided to ruin me in stages. She slid into the chair across from me and narrowed her eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're about to say something sincere and inconvenient. I talked to Brianna. Natalie's smile faded, but she didn't flinch. And I told her I'm choosing you. Her fingers went still around her cup. Outside, dusk pressed blue against the windows. Inside, the cafe smelled like cinnamon, espresso, and old paper. Natalie looked down at the table for so long I wondered if I had said too much. Then she whispered, "Say it again." My chest tightened. I reached across the little table, palm up. She put her hand in mine. "I'm choosing you," I said. Natalie's eyes shone, but her mouth curved. Even though I'm bossy? Especially then. Even though I'm still angry about the lonely comment? I expect to be paying emotional damages for a while. Good. I accept payment in coffee, foot rubs, and public declarations. Done. Her thumb moved over my knuckles. I talked to her, too. I held still. She cried, Natalie said softly. Then I cried, which was annoying because I had good eyeliner on. Tragic. Devastating. She took a breath. I told her I loved her. I told her I wasn't asking permission. And I told her if our friendship only worked when I made my heart convenient for her, then maybe we needed to let it change. I squeezed her hand. How do you feel? Like I swallowed a chandelier. That sounds uncomfortable. Very sparkly, very sharp. She looked at me then, but I also feel relieved and scared and happy, which is a rude number of feelings. I smiled. We can take them one at a time. Natalie leaned back, studying me. Is that your official boyfriend application? I nearly knocked over my coffee. She grinned. Oh, that got you. I'm fine. You are not fine. Your ears are red. My ears are private. Not from me. That sentence settled between us, playful and intimate all at once. I leaned closer. Are you asking me to be your boyfriend, Natalie Brooks? No, I'm giving you the opportunity to ask me properly. Ah, I believe in traditions. You steal fries and demand proposals. Relationship proposals, she corrected. Don't panic, claims happen. I laughed, then stood, and came around to her side of the table. She watched me, smile fading into surprise when I crouched beside her chair, still holding her hand. Around us, people kept reading. Cups clinked. Someone's laptop chimed. I didn't care. Natalie, I said, will you go out with me in a way that involves labels, inconvenient honesty, and a shared understanding that my fries are no longer legally mine? Her lips parted. Then she laughed, bright and teary, and cupped my face in both hands. Yes, she whispered. Obviously. She kissed me right there beside the biography shelf. Not a cautious kiss, not a secret one. A kiss that tasted like cinnamon and relief. Her smile pressed against mine, her fingers warm along my jaw. When I sat back down, an elderly woman at the next table lifted her coffee and a tiny toast. Natalie buried, her face in her hands. We have witnesses. Good, I said. I'm tired of pretending I don't want people to know. Her eyes softened over the tops of her fingers. After that, things didn't become simple. Brianna didn't magically bless us. Some friends picked careful, neutral phrases. Some didn't invite us to the same places for a while. Logan once gave me a look across a grocery aisle like I'd personally lowered property values. But Natalie and I kept choosing each other in small, stubborn ways. Sunday coffee, Wednesday takeout. Her feet in my lap while she edited design proofs, and I pretended not to enjoy rubbing her arches. My hand at the small of her back when we walked into rooms. Her voice in my kitchen saying, "Your sock drawer is a cry for help," before reorganizing it badly on purpose. 3 months later, Brianna asked Natalie to meet for lunch. Natalie went. She came back quiet, then crawled onto my couch and tucked herself under my arm. She apologized, she said. For all of it? For enough to start. I kissed the top of her head. You okay? No. She slipped her hand under my shirt, resting her palm over my heart. But I think I will be. So I held her there while rain tapped the windows, the same kind of rain from the night she'd asked me to drive past her street. Only this time she wasn't asking to avoid home. She was in one. By the following spring, Natalie had a new gallery show. The night of the opening, she wore a blue dress and the berry lipstick that made it difficult for me to form complete sentences. Her favorite piece hung in the center wall. A woman standing at the edge of a dark street, silver heels in one hand, headlights glowing behind her. She had titled it Just Once. I stood beside her while people admired it, her fingers linked through mine in front of everyone. "You know," I murmured. "I'm pretty sure that's my truck." "It's inspired by your truck." "And that jawline?" "Artist's interpretation." "I'm handsome in this." "You're handsome in real life too. Don't make me regret saying that." I turned to look at her. Even surrounded by people, she felt like the only clear thing in the room. "Hey," I said softly. She glanced up. "Yeah? I'm glad you didn't go home that night." Her teasing expression faded into warmth. "I was so scared," she admitted. "I know. But you drove past my street. Just once." Natalie smiled, then stepped closer and kissed me under the gallery lights, in front of the painting, in front of anyone who cared to look. Her heels were on, this time. Her hand was steady in mine. And when she pulled back, she didn't look like a woman running from one life. She looked like a woman stepping into the next one, choosing it with her eyes open. What would you have done if your ex's best friend got into your car after a party and softly asked you to drive past her street just once? Have you ever experienced something similar? Wanting someone you thought you weren't allowed to want? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.